So we are here today for another Ylopo Client Success Spotlight. Why do we do these spotlights? And we're doing them like like once every couple of weeks, right?
Every couple of weeks. Yep.
Right. Right. That's because not everybody has found their stride yet with Ylopo. And there's a lot of folks that we talk to who know that they can do more. They just have this nagging suspicion that there is a lot more that they can do and get out of, and a lot more closes and a lot more buyers they can work with and a lot more sellers they can work with if they only did X, Y, and Z. Well, the question is what is the X, Y, and Z? And there's lots of different X, Y, and Zs. That's cool, right? So that's why when we have a different client success spotlight every couple of weeks, we can see, the X, Y, and Z for a Jason O'Keefe, or the X, Y, and Z for an Eric Camille, or the X, Y, and Z for Michael Baird, who's coming up, right? So today's focus is on Jason. So hello, Jason. Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, thank you
for sharing your success and wisdom today. So tell us about your market. What market are you in?
So we're up in Canada. We're about an hour west of Toronto, Ontario. Okay. Our region in this area has probably got just over 500,000 in our area. Average price point's about 450 to 500,000.
So how far of a drive is that out of Toronto? And also on the other side, how far of a drive is that out of like Detroit area?
So on a good day, it's an hour out of Toronto. And on a bad day, it can be 2 hours out of Toronto. And then Windsor, Detroit's about 3 hours, just over 3 hours. My friends will say I drive faster, so it's probably about 3.5 for the average person. So it's not bad.
What kind of market are you in? Would you say that most of the people, the buyers and sellers you work with are from that area, staying in that area?
Well, Waterloo Kitchener area is now actually the big tech area in Canada. Okay. So like Google's got their headquarters up here. BlackBerry, was a lot bigger at one time.
BlackBerry, what's BlackBerry?
BlackBerry, right? Right. I think it's called RIM now. We also got like two great universities. A lot of the Waterloo University feeds a lot of the Google and Facebook. They come up here, then they head down there. So we got such a Toyota's got its big plant here. So we're fortunate enough that whenever we go through recessions, we don't really see it in this area.
What percentage of the people that you work with, the consumers you work with, would you say are coming from out of town, moving to your area versus are already in the area?
We still get probably about 25% of our buyers right now moving up from the Toronto area, just because of the price point there. Yep. I mean, you can't even get a shack for under $1 million now.
Yep.
Right. So, where they can sell their house here, move up here for half the money. And then, and the jobs are, there's tons of jobs up here. Like we don't have an issue.
And how long have you been with Ylopo? When did you start with Ylopo?
So I started in September, actually. I was talking, I think end of August, September. I spoke to a business coach. She was helping a gentleman down in New Jersey.
Okay.
And she mentioned the company. So I started, I think, reaching out to you guys in July, August, and we just kind of kept going from there.
Got rolling in September. And so you've been with us sort of 8-9 months at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
And I would say we're still learning it. I mean, it's got so many different things and, learning the best practices. So we had to move everything now to follow-up us. We didn't have them before. So we had to change all our CRMs, change everything around and find out and ask what everyone else's best practices are and try and find what works for us.
Interesting. So what was the composition and size of your team when you started with Ylopo?
I actually had in September, I lost 3 agents. So I think I was just right around 3 or 4 agents full time.
Okay.
Right. And we've added some bigger people that have come back to us. My old business partner who left and came back, he came back with 2 agents and an admin. And I just had another guy that does, $250,000 a year in GCI. He came back.
So how large is your team now?
We have 12 agents, and then I got about 4 or 5 part-time agents. So
okay, so you've expanded your team about 4 times from when you started with us.
Yep.
And has Ylopo been involved at all or instrumental in any way in bringing people back or recruiting at all? Have you used it in any way to attract folks?
Not as much as I probably should, and that's something we're working on right now, to do some career nights, some career videos, stuff like that. Most of the people, Now, some of the people I brought on, so I run like an ISA program. It takes longer to get your real estate license up in Canada. So it can take anywhere between 6 months to a year, right? It's not like down in the US where I've heard it's pretty easy, right? So it takes, and our thing just moved over to a college, so I'm not even sure how that's going to work. So it could take a little longer. So what I do is I bring people in here. They got to go through like 5 or 6 courses. I bring them in at course number 2 or 3, and I have them start becoming an ISA and rolling out. So 4 of the agents I have now are all from that program, and I've just hired 2 more people to go through that now. And I have 2 more just finishing.
They can operate as ISAs first before they become agents.
Yeah, they have to keep it more of a survey question or calling on, like having the ISAs call on the Ylopo leads is easier, right?
Yep.
And when they need more information, then we pass them on to agents. So.
Got it. And what's your marketing mix? Are you doing all social media? Are you doing a mix of social media and Google pay-per-click? What's that look like?
So with you guys now, I've got the Facebook stuff, the Google. I beta tested the Google PPC, which have worked well.
Okay.
And then as time's gone on and listening, we've upped our remarketing budget for our old database.
Great. So for people taking notes, Jason's really doing the right thing, which is he's got the social media marketing. So he's very present on Facebook and Instagram. He's doing the Google marketing, so he's very present on Google, and he's got a significant budget for remarketing, which we're going to talk about. It's been really critical for his success. So I call this, and you guys want to write it down, I call it smother your market. Smother your market. You don't want to just show up on Facebook and Instagram or just show up on Google, right? Or not do enough remarketing. By smothering your market, you can wake up every morning feeling good. Like, I know I'm in front of my entire market 24/7. My brand, my team, my listings. That's the approach. So let's talk about your success. Let's set that table. Tell us about, Kiwi told me some pretty impressive numbers.
Yep.
So tell me how many sort of direct Ylopo caused deals, like in other words, they were originally Ylopo leads, initial relationships, and then how many deals that were leads that came in from other sources, but it was because of Ylopo's remarketing, bringing them back, and maybe RaiYA, and all of the lead nurture that they resulted in actual deals for you guys.
Yeah, so I'm going to just share my screen right now, and then I can show you some of those numbers.
Kiwi, does he have the screen share?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah. Yep.
You guys see that?
Not. Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Look, I had a nice haircut. Here, hold on here. There we go. So that was a little bit about what we talked about, right?
Awesome.
Never being able to figure out the retargeting, all that stuff, right? So with old leads, I'll just go to.
Well, let's go back. Is there any? Want to go back for a sec? Or any other meat on the bones there?
Well, yeah, I have a question.
Here. Right.
Because before 2016, you did not have a CRM. So
no.
So I'm interested because that's obviously it's a big challenge for a lot of agents. And so how have you guys leveraged your CRM to maybe just organize or give yourself some direction? Because I think there's a lot of people that have never really dialed in a CRM, and now they're transitioning to try to get more focused on it. And so I think maybe that perspective might be helpful.
Yeah. So before, when I was with other companies, before I moved to Keller Williams, I wasn't ever taught any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody talked about it. So then the first thing I did when I moved to Keller Williams is I just dived into everybody that had sent me an email about a listing. I found everything between me and I had an admin. We just dived into all my old Gmail accounts, found everybody, took all my clients off of my phone. We dived into all the deals I had done for the last 10 years before that. Like we hit as much as we could to find database. I probably spent a good 6 months to a year, not just still transactioning, but just filling it out. And I'm still missing parts of it. A good example was somebody I sold a house to 13 years ago. Ylopo just retargeted and marketed them last week, but I found their email through LinkedIn and put it in, right? So that's been the biggest thing that I could tell people right now is when you start off in this business, you need to build that right off the bat, some form, some way, and not on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you answering that.
Yeah, so that was one of the big things we did. Was not only did we so I started and I probably got up to about 500 by the end of 2016. In 2017, myself with a part-time ISA and an admin, I did 55 deals myself just by taking that, going from doing 30 deals a year now to 55, just myself. And that's when I started to build a team, just because I didn't want to work that hard. So that's the biggest thing people can learn. And so then when we moved to Ylopo, we took all, I was buying leads from other sources. We have Agent Locator up here in Canada. I dealt with Brivity and Bold Leads. So I took all of that and I jammed it all back into Ylopo. So the amount of remarketing we're seeing is massive just by taking old leads.
So how big is your database now, or how big was the database that we started touching through remarketing? And if you want to move ahead on the slides, by the way, go ahead.
Pardon?
If you want to move ahead on the slides, if it's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, so their results after 6 months, we have, we went from 6 months, 6 now to 13 agents for sure. And our goal is to get up to 20. So right here, you can see, we've done 7 closed deals, been paid for, right? And then we've had 38 from other Ylopo remarketing. And then then we have 6 more pending and 11 more pending from the Ylopo stuff. Now, remember, in Canada, when they go pending, our deals close about 98% of the time. So I can already count that into my costs, right?
So it's 45 deals in the books that we've touched, either generated or touched, and another 17 coming up that are pending. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, we were well on our way before COVID hit. And in March, we were having our best month ever. We had done 11 deals in the first 17 days. So that our goal is to get up to 200 and 250 deals. And we were well on our way. So of course we took a bit of a hit, but to give you guys an idea, I've got just 2 of my agents alone I talked to today. They figured between the 2 of them, they've got 20 people that will close as soon as we can find them a house.
Got it. So another 20 on top of these 17.
That's just the 2 agents. I'm not even talking the other 10.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's incredible. And how big is the database right now?
Pardon?
How large is your database of relationships right now?
So right now we just passed over the 20,000 mark.
Nice. And you know what happens once you hit 50,000 someday in a few years.
So I'm just
I have some questions about those numbers, Howard, if you don't mind me interrupting. So 7 deals in the first 12 months. So most of that was probably leveraging Facebook ads and not Google. Am I right or no?
Correct, because I don't think I think I was one of the first beta, but I don't think it really took off right away, right?
Right. Okay, so that answers that. And every time I ask somebody this question that's crushing it in an area of their business, they always say something like, well, I don't know, I'm just doing it. And so I'm going to try to extrapolate what you guys are doing with Facebook leads so that it'll benefit the people that are listening and will listen to this webinar. So when you guys were getting a new lead, if you were to generalize kind of maybe either the script or the process, can you just give me some high level, this is what we try to do when we get a new Facebook lead or a Google PPC lead?
So I'll be honest with you. At first we started just letting the agents, we either would tell them to call right away. I don't think we were even using RaiYA properly. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I know we weren't. Kevin's just here, my assistant, saying we weren't. So we were giving them to the agents to call. We were stopping RaiYA too soon. We were having, we built some action plans that were emailing, and it became very confusing for people. So I'd say in the last month and a half, 2 months, we've really dived into more about using RaiYA. Right? Okay. We actually now, we don't text ourselves. We'll try and call sometimes right off the bat if we feel that RaiYA is not engaging off the top, but we will always use now, we'll go in the back end of Ylopo Stars and talk as RaiYA. Right? So we don't.
That's smart. That's smart.
Use, so it always keeps looking like it's our assistant. And I think we were finding when we were calling and then an agent was texting and then RaiYA was texting, people got confused. So what we've done is now said to the agents, use RaiYA as you and keep that conversation going and try and book that phone call if RaiYA is engaging.
Sure. Well,
so let's try to take a second there. And again, because Jason said something that was very important. He said, we weren't using RaiYA correctly. now we are starting to, like, Jason's very humble. He's always like, he can do better. He can do better, right? So he's not saying I've mastered RaiYA. He's saying we are using RaiYA better, right? And let's just, is there one or two or three bullet points there we can give to the folks listening? What does it mean to not be using RaiYA correctly? And what is it, so they can write it down, what does it mean to be using RaiYA correctly?
I go back to, I think the biggest thing is that when you turn off RaiYA, because she's asking that, she's qualifying that person for you. You know, if that's the way it's going, she's qualifying. And the idea is to set up an appointment. What I think we were doing is our agents would see that RaiYA started the conversation, and then they engage and they turn RaiYA off. And then that person was like, well, hold on, I was talking to this person. Who are you? So I would, if RaiYA is running, I would let it run for as long as until that pause hits and you feel that it's not being dealt with, then I would probably engage, but I would still engage as RaiYA. I would ask another question.
Your agents, to be specific, your agents, when it's going really well, do they come in, turn RaiYA off? Again, they still continue the conversation texting as RaiYA.
Yep.
Your agents try to accelerate the, hey, I can get you an appointment with Jason type of thing?
Yep.
Okay.
But the one issue with that is, I found the failure in that is, if all of a sudden they didn't hear back the next day, they would forget to turn RaiYA back on. So when we've gone back looking at a lot of our leads that came in from the beginning, RaiYA's been turned off for months.
Interesting. So number one is go into stars, turn RaiYA off, still be RaiYA, right?
Yep.
So they are just dealing with one person, kind of gives you the status as the agent that you still have an assistant.
Yep.
They get to meet you, right, like the agent, but
yep.
It's the assistant setting it up, gives you status, one voice that they're dealing with, not like 5 different people. And if you can on your own get an appointment for yourself as the assistant, yep. right? Great. If not, if it stalls out, make sure to turn RaiYA back on. Point number 2, turn RaiYA back on. Yeah, yep. That's great.
And the other thing we've also done now in the last week, just to give you an idea. So I had an agent who I'd probably given, I'm going to tell you, 30 to 40 leads a month. And she's struggling. And she's been now, so 6 months of it, she's 240, 300 leads. I hired an ISA last week, and I've given her 30 leads. She booked 6 appointments.
Wow.
And that agent didn't. So just giving it to all your agents and just letting agents run it may not be the best person for that.
Got it. So you've got to really watch your people. And
100%.
If you have the wrong person in the wrong job, you got to know it, and because you're wasting your opportunities with that person. I mean, we do that ourselves. We walk the walk at Ylopo. We look at conversion percentages into demos and conversion percentages from demos into sales. And what I love about our business is we do exactly what you guys do, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing, and if we have someone that's converting at any of these different turnstiles at a way lower percentage than the other folks, mm-hmm. you're not doing anyone a service by keeping them doing that, because you're just taking opportunities away from people who are going to convert higher. Yeah.
Your ISA, Jason, was that in-house or was it third party?
In-house. I hired one. I was fortunate enough. She actually, we put an ad out there. She actually lives in Calgary, so she's not even close to us, right? She's on the other side of the country. She's been doing it for years. So that was the one. The other person we hired, he's going to start being a agent down the road. He's just starting, but he's already converting like the old leads that are coming back into the system. He's just been given those, and he's already booked 3 appointments in the week. So, I mean, we've been with Ylopo now since September. I just opened up today. We had one that re-engaged from 277 days ago, which you guys talk about all the time.
Well, that's the thing. So you guys hear that, like they just engaged with someone who started 277 days ago.
Yep.
In many ways, the older the lead, the better. It's counterintuitive to everyone.
Yeah.
The older the lead, the better, because people don't buy and sell every year, right?
That's right.
They buy and sell every 6 years, okay? Whatever the number is, it's always changing. So we now have the tech to stay in front of people for forever, not with like just sort of meaningless branding that they're just not going to pay attention to. Yeah. But always with this intelligence of big data of what they may want to do next, the homes that they may be interested in next. And when they come back and home search gets elevated and RaiYA conversations are going, Those are the folks that you talk to. Everybody needs to understand the game of the lead gen has changed. This is not about like, okay, we're just going to generate these leads and I've got to convert all these leads today, this week, this month. It's not about that. Kirby from the audience asks, Howard, what is this 50,000 mark? We should hit that this year. Well, go back and look at, you know, a database is forever presentation. Because once you get to that, you know, Jason, you're gonna hit that $25,000 mark. We can tell you, you're gonna forever, especially with your systems, you're gonna convert minimum 1/3 of 1% every month of your entire database.
Yep.
Do the math on that. Okay. At 50,000, do the math on 1/3 of 1%. This is like, that's a very conservative number, right? Convert 1/3 of 1% of your database. Imagine when you get to 100,000 leads. Imagine you get to like Robert Slack is going to be hitting like 1 million leads or relationships. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about investing in your business. Think about this as an actual business. We invested in our business for years at Ylopo before we made $1 profit.
Yep.
Right? And that's just business. That's business 101. Whether you're opening a bar, whether you're launching a tech company, but most of the real estate community, it's shocking if you look at the stats of how little the average agent spends investing in their own business. The database, we figured out the database now with remarketing and with RaiYA, your database equals money. It's just money. Now, you got to have the right people, as you said,
100%.
right? You have to have the systems and all that, which you have. So there's a very, I want to get back into the so we talked about the secrets to success with doing RaiYA correctly with some great nuggets there, which is keep it going, right? Go into stars, turn it off, take it over, but as the same voice, as the RaiYA voice, not all of a sudden someone else. If it can get an appointment, boom. If not, it stalls out, turn RaiYA back on. So that's gold. I mean, that's the price of the webinar right now. How much was this webinar, by the way, Barry?
Free of charge.
Free of charge. All right. So what else? Let's get into some other nuggets here. Because
some of the other things we've noted, also make sure your CRM, when you guys use, is set up to how you're going to go through your daily tasks or through your priorities. So we had to configure everything. I think we used a lot of Barry stuff. We asked, we kind of ripped up and duplicated, I think, a bunch of Barry stuff and some of the other people. And, we were doing all tasks. We kept setting tasks. And, you go in one day and you see overdue tasks of 400, 500 people. So we didn't think that was working. So we talked to people. So now what it is the first one is why priority. Every day the agents have to look at their why priorities. That's the first one, because that's seeing where people are re-engaging, right? So, it's people come in, we put a call one on it first, and that's the only thing we put on as a task for an action plan for the agent. And then we use why priorities number one, and then we set up that every lead that comes in has to be called 6 times in 12 days, and that goes under lead, and that populates up every 24 hours. And then we go into what we call a hot, so we don't let them get past a week. And then warm, we don't let them get somebody that's going to be 3 months to 9 months every month. We use smart lists is what we'll call it. And we use a lot of Barry's smart lists. He spent a lot of time and energy doing that, right? Learning the system, right? So that's been one of the best things we've done is we went to smart lists sometime in about mid-March.
So step one, everybody should take stock. Let's say you're watching this, let's say you've got 3 or 4 or 5 agents on your team. So the first thing is to ask them or to know every single day is the first thing they do is to look for in their CRM the why priorities, to look for the priority alerts.
Yep.
That's number one who you reach out to every day, right?
Correct.
Now, beyond that, so that would be number one. And if you basically talk to, 4 agents in your team and they're not all doing that every day, first thing, looking at their why priorities, right? Tags or priority alerts, broken system. Now, beyond that, now we're talking about smart lists. So let's get granular again. So after we hit our why priorities, our priority leads, then what's next?
So as they come in, they always say lead, right? So, maybe I can see if I can get to that.
Sure.
Let me see if I get to Give me one sec here. I'll pull up what they look like on ours. And I'll share the screen.
And if you can multitask at all, someone did ask about your compensation system for your ISAs. How does that work?
Well, luckily, I mean, right now they're, anybody from Canada's listening to this from the government, this won't go over well, but everybody up here is getting $2,000 a month that can't work, that earned some money last year. So we put all our ISAs on a 10% split. They get paid 5% when the deal firms up and 5% when it closes.
Got it.
So that's it.
Here's an interesting question, and this is open to both you and to Barry. Kelly asks, can Jason or others, would really be Barry, speak to having a team of agents but no ISA, and the best practices for the agents to take the best practice for agents to take to make the appointments without an ISA? Comments I'm getting from my agents are, why don't you hire an ISA for us?
Of course.
Well, and
start.
That's basically what we've done, right?
Yeah, but I think she's saying she's not doing it right now. She's not hiring an ISA. And so if you don't have one, what's the best practice if you just have a group of agents and you don't have an ISA?
Well, for me, with the agents, and what I've really found more and more, and I don't know if everyone else agrees with this, but they look for the new shiny coin. And we know, as you said, in real estate, and this is where I think Ylopo really has the benefit, and RaiYA is, it'll stay on top of people a year out, 2 years out. That's where I think the biggest failure as an agent is we don't do enough follow-up, right? Everyone says you need to call your database, you need to do this, you need to do that. When we see the new shiny coin, it's like squirrel, off we go, and we forget to do the rest of it. And that's, to me, what the biggest value of Ylopo is just staying on top of everybody, right? Like having a database, you know, mine's 20,000 or almost 21,000 now. I can't imagine having a database of 50,000 where everyone's just running looking for squirrels.
Yeah,
right?
So this is really important. So to understand this, think about, go back to like, you know, 8th grade math or 6th grade math, right? Think about fractions, okay?
Yep.
So think about a numerator and a denominator, which makes up a fraction. You want to build your denominator, everyone should be writing this down, as much as possible. Your denominator is the size of your database. Now, with Jason, and he's at 20,000, and he's going to keep investing, and he's going to get to 25,000, he's going to get to 50,000. His denominator keeps growing. When your denominator keeps growing, what also grows in lockstep is the much smaller number, the numerator, right? Your numerator grows. Your denominator equals the size of your database. Your numerator, and I apologize, guys, if I'm going 101, but for some people I got to go 101 here. Your numerator is the number of Y priority alerts. It's the number of searchers who are really busy, who are doing stuff. Number of sellers who are engaging with the home valuation tool. Now we've got HomeBot. Number of buyers who are searching, and we know half of those buyers have a home to sell, right? So they are signaling, and the larger your denominator, the larger your database, the more high activity people you're going to have. It just grows in lockstep. It's just pure statistics. So now the more priority alerts you have, the more RaiYA conversations you have, that's going to keep everybody busy. You don't have to focus on everybody in the denominator. You don't have to do it. You can focus on the high activity people. And they might have come in 2 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago, doesn't matter. At some point, they get active again because we never stop bringing them back to your fishbowl. That is the name of the game.
I just want to say something really quick regarding Kelly's question. I've been speaking to a lot of teams and agents recently who are having great success with Ylopo and doing interviews. A couple that I have spoke to, or several I've spoke to, have got the business model of no ISA. They're only using RaiYA and their agents. I think the most important thing that they've all told me is that they have a database manager, a lead sort of manager who can keep everyone accountable and make sure things don't fall through the cracks. You can't just rely on the agents to do it. A lot of them will drop the ball. So you need to have that database or that leads manager who's on top of it for you. Otherwise, that model is going to fail.
And the reality is, if you don't want to pay for that person or have that person, you've got to do it.
Yeah.
And you've got to do it. And if you do it correctly, if you're the leader and you do it and you hold everybody accountable, eventually you can afford the ISA, or eventually you can afford the database manager. But what does that mean by you're doing it? It means literally every Monday there's a stand-up. Every Monday. Okay, this past week, how many calls, how many texts, how many emails, how many priority leads did you connect with? How many RaiYA conversations did you pick up? If you are not tracking that and standing everybody up once a week, you are failing. The system's not failing you. Your agents are not failing you. If your agents are failing you, it's because you're failing. If my own salespeople are failing me, it's because I'm failing to manage them. If any one of my divisions is failing, it's because I am failing as a CEO to manage them. So Jason, let's go back into the other great pearls of wisdom. Again, we're getting back to the difference between success and failure. If you have Ylopo, right? What are some of the other sort of really important things? And you've got something you want to show us here, I know.
Yeah, so I just put up, we use Follow-Up Boss. So as you can see, kind of our smart list, it starts with all people. I have how many website leads I've had since I've started. I want to know that number. So we've already added 4,000 people since just through website leads, through Ylopo and that, like Facebook, Google, PPC. But you can see right beside, so the number one thing every agent has to do every day is the Y priority leads. And that number fluctuates. I mean, some days it gets over the weekend, it might get up to 100, and then it breaks down, right? So, and we move a lot of the old stuff back to the ISAs. We have one ISA that just has to do that. He's off today. So that's why you'll see 39 is a high number. And then you can see leads daily. We've got 328 people. After 12 days in our system, they go to what we call unresponsive. So that's how many things right there that we need the agents to do. Where we failed, and I failed, is I didn't have the systems in place to deal with that. And that's why I've decided to take this away from the agents, because I just didn't feel that maybe I didn't have the right talent to deal with it constantly. So that's why I've taken it away from them. And then we've got number 3, it's hot weekly, as you can see. And then on my screen, it goes warm, cold, past, sphere. So if anybody wants this, let us know.
These are triage in order of importance from highest to lowest?
100%.
And I'm sorry, I'm a little thick. Can you just describe it again? We know what the Y priorities are. Everyone should know that. Okay. If you don't know that, call your AM. like email us ASAP. Your leads daily, how would you define them? Your leads daily? So
that's a new lead or somebody that's come into the system, and they stay in there for 12 days and they get repopulated every 24 hours. That number comes back up and that person comes back up in the agent system.
So those are basically like new leads, right?
New leads. Yeah.
And guys, when you add pay-per-click 2.0, the next generation of pay-per-click that the mad scientist has come up with, which is the best out there. When you add that to your social marketing, and you're all going to do that, okay, really important to also now tackle with the social media leads, takes time, right? Also understand that there is some low-hanging fruit with the pay-per-click leads. What do I mean by low-hanging fruit? There are some people who need to transact right away because they have search intent. They themselves, we didn't prod them. They themselves went to Google to search. Okay, so that's why I love your number 2 here, your leads daily. Write this down. If you're especially also on the pay-per-click 2.0. Okay, 3, what's the hot weeklies?
So as they come in, I'll move over here for a second, just quickly so you see. So when they come in, they all say lead under stage, right? So that was 11 minutes ago, right? So they all come in saying that.
So, okay, so let's stop right there. This came in 11 minutes ago. What's the process right now?
So I'll be honest, right now the process still is either myself or my leads manager will assign that to somebody. Whoops.
Okay.
I will have it down the road done automatically, but as the CEO, I see every lead that comes in right now because I'm still learning Ylopo. We're still making mistakes, and I want to get it clean. I want to have a model and a system that just runs every day, especially when we're going to get up to 50,000, 100,000. It's not me going to do it. What we'll probably do, so as soon as it comes in, we send an email right away. We have an action plan. And on the top over here, it says call 1. It's still under my name because the lead's still under my name. So when I transfer that, so if I do this right now,
But let's say you kept that lead, right?
Yeah.
And they came in 12 minutes ago, looking around 600,000, but they've said casually browsing right now. What are you going to do exactly with this?
So right now, the ISA or the agent would let that run for a bit to see what happens here. We try to see if RaiYA kicks in. I mean, that's the big thing. And then if it doesn't, then that agent will call on a little bit. So
they'll call them versus text them.
Yeah, they call them because we already see they're being texted and they're not responding. So now the goal is to, send a call out to them, right? So within a half an hour, their job is to make sure they make that call.
What happens if this person wasn't texted?
Like, you mean here?
Yeah.
Well, it could be like all the other leads I bought before. They just fall off. Agent would call them once and you wouldn't, you know what I mean? I mean, we can all talk about what happened there.
What do you think, Barry? What I'm getting at is, of course, if RaiYA's not texting them, why don't we text them? That's kind of what I'm getting at in a very light and polite way.
I think an agent would call, maybe text once, and then next.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think that for my agents, because I don't want them overwhelmed with past 2 tasks, I just have 3 call tasks for new leads.
Yep.
And then I have an ISA calling alongside of them. And that's the only thing I ask them to do. But in Follow Up Boss, one of the things I like is the columns. You can make these smart lists to where, don't show me a lead that I've called in the last 5 days. So, you're sitting there in your list and you're in your Y priority list. And if you want to add a communication column and a filtration there, your agents can literally just go through, and if they've tried to reach them, the lead has disappeared. So instead of having to look at a list of names and say, okay, who should I call? Let me go through who haven't I called. If they see the name, they call. And what I found is that by decreasing the number of tasks, but increasing the focus on who hasn't been reached out recently, attempts to outreach has gone up significantly, because it's kind of like, it's right in your face. So
you really got to dial in your systems, what you guys are saying, dial in your system to make it easy for the agents, the ISAs to know, just make it easy, present to them exactly who to call, text, and who not to.
Yeah, this is their call list. This is their call list, right?
Well, and Ylopo is doing something that, I had never been able to do before. These CRMs all had these all cool tracking tools and all these things to see who your hot leads were, but we weren't able to bring the consumer back to our website, not like this. And so now it's like, you've got this, like, I envision like a river, and you've got the dam and you've got the electricity going off the water, because you've got this constant of just return visit, and then you can, generate all these systems. And I just wrote 3 drip campaigns, because Ylopo, Follow Up Boss is going to trigger new emails off of new tags. So like now, when there's a new Y priority alert, we're going to be able to, in the next month or 2, automatically send an email to a Y priority alert. So like, there's all this great activity that comes as a result. But as Jason is showing, you've got to have these dialed in. And honestly, some system is better than no system. So don't get caught up. And I think you'd agree with me, Jason, analysis paralysis is your enemy. Just jump in and iterate.
The systems can always get better. Kiwi, what I'm thinking here is let's definitely, before this year is out, we should definitely, I know you guys are doing this already, but I want to do more. Like, what happens if we had Jason and Barry and like 20 people who are all on Follow Up Boss Ylopo together, who are all like comparing their systems and trying to elevate our systems game. And then we do that as well for the other CRMs, these little focus groups, right? And then we can then share that. So anyway, we'll talk about that, but I think that's really cool. Let's talk about content and message, for example. So we're talking about the process, who you call, setting up the systems. Have you guys made any changes or improvements about, like, we know your folks are calling, your ISAs are calling, but the content of what they say and how they say it? Have you guys evolved there or made any improvements that will help the people that are listening today?
Yeah, so we went over what the conversations were, and we created 10 questions. Never any of the questions are a yes/no question. Right? So we ask a yes, no, and since I've given it to some people to start working, they're finding a better response just by having that question. And we built it all off of what they're looking at on Ylopo.
So it
Right?
seems like a common yes/no question is like, are you looking to, buy or sell in the next whatever few months? Like that's a yes/no question. That seems like it's a pretty common question, right? So what have you kind of replaced that with?
So first thing we said, we'd start with something like, especially with Ylopo and stuff, you can see what they're already looking at. So, something would be something where they'd say, hey, we noticed you've been looking at, there's one on here that says 15 trillion Ave. I'm wondering if you've had a chance to go take a look at the property. I guess that's a yes, no. I'm trying to think what they are.
So,
I caught myself on that,
so
right? I don't have to
more
listen.
like maybe something more like, what did you like about that property, or what did you not like about that property? So they're actually you're trying to get into a conversation, is what you're saying.
Yeah, one of the questions, how long have you been looking? Right, that's a question. Do you rent or own your own home? Right.
Right. What are you really looking for? Like stuff
that's
like
what we're diving into, right?
Yeah.
What's your time frame for moving? I found the list, right? The good thing about a lot of times with Ylopo, it already tells you a budget, which is nice, right? So it kind of gives you an idea of what area. So we just kind of push off of what we see are there already. And then, it's great because RaiYA already asked them if they're qualified, right?
So what are some of the best questions? Can you read them off? You said are you looking at the list of questions?
I can put that out to you.
Okay, so you're going to put that out for everybody?
Yeah, I can have that out there. I can give it to you guys, and you guys can see what
Awesome.
it is, right?
Did you use those questions on or some form of those questions to help you surface the 7 closings that you've had? Do you think that was a part of it?
No, these are just things we've started in the last 2 weeks.
So I'm still stuck on that because, you went from platform to platform and now you're on Ylopo and you're crushing it, and you're so humble that when I asked you what you did to close the 7 deals, you immediately told me all the things you didn't do. That's what you did. And we never.
Yeah. I sit here all the time when I teach around here. I tell people in the 10 years I was working for other companies and that, because I didn't have the systems in place, I probably lost about 500 deals. So in my marketplace, the average paycheck is, between 7 and 10,000. You do the math.
Wow. Doug chimes in here. Use the Barry Jenkins question. Hey, what stands out about the homes you saw on Facebook and my website? Always a good one.
And we'll add that one right now. My assistant's writing that down right now.
Hey, what stands out about the homes you saw on Facebook and my website? What do you like about that? Barry, what does that do? Why is that the right question?
Well, I always like to start with a question I know they can answer. And so it doesn't matter if they've been looking 12 hours or 12 years, they know what they just looked at, and everybody's got an opinion. So I like to start there.
Yeah.
And then when they're not responsive, and we go into this in the masterclass, but when they're not responsive or we feel like they're not really clear, then we normally like to ask, whenever you decide to move, what are you hoping to change about where you live right now? And we kind of backdoor them into giving them our search criteria. But honestly, I think you're on the right track, Jason, asking these open-ended questions. I tell my agents, when you're asking these questions, the consumer is telling you their story, and you're going to hear fear, you're going to hear mistakes, you're going to hear confusion, ignorance. And to the degree that I can fill in those gaps, the ignorance, the fear, and I can speak to those things, I'm instantly valuable. And also I've sped up the person's journey, which is how you shrink that pipeline. And I think you guys have been intuitively just, asking the right questions and focusing on the right people, because you didn't have any systems. And now you have a system saying this person's active, and you're going after it. And I've had agents, not a lot, but I've had agents. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, not to beat up Keller Williams, but one of them was the Keller Williams agent that was there at Keller Williams for 12 months. And I gave her access to what we call the priority fund. She probably called, 100 people a day. She sold something within 2 months. And I said, what's your secret? And she said, well, I just saw this list of people that needed help. And I never had a list of people that needed help. And so I'm just calling them to see if I can help them. And not that you're saying the same thing, but it feels like that same energy where you're like, they just want my help. I'm just going after it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen also since COVID, we've seen that we've changed a bit of that hard sell to more of that building relationships, so that when we get more, and like my agents this past week or two really are starting to take off. And it's because we've just built the relationships over the last months or two. And now as we get more to what the normal is going to be up here for us, is now they're starting to just get back out there, right? So, you know, that's the biggest thing, is build those relationships, and asking the right questions is building those relationships.
And there was a question who wanted to know, like, what percentage of your leads are going to become priority leads? I don't know if Jason or Barry, you guys want to handle that. I can actually show up some numbers if you want me to. Jason, do you have a rule of thumb for that right now?
No, I'm still learning it. I mean, it's amazing to see how many people from the past lead sources are just popping back up, right? And that includes my sphere, who I never really call. They come up all the time as a wide priority. So I don't know what the number is. I'd have to look at what I get every day.
Okay, I will share that. I will share this once you stop sharing your screen. But this is your webinar, and we do have a webinar about that. But so we've talked about your systems, your process, how you triage it, who you focus on. You've talked about open-ended questions, no questions that end up in a yes or a no. You've talked about how to successfully deal with RaiYA, right? We've talked about that, okay? And what else? What are some of the other things that you would be like, oh my God, the webinar ended and I didn't mention this. This is another key to success. The difference between success and failure with Ylopo.
Well, again, saying the smart list is another big thing. That's a massive thing. You know, it's great to get all these leads in, but if you don't know how to funnel through them and keep them invested and keep on top of them, it's useless also, right? Like, you know, and I think that's a mistake we made for the first 4 or 5 months. We weren't even doing it properly that way, right? So the other thing we did was, once you guys started doing more videos and that, like, I think we were sitting about 250, I think we're in stage 2. So we were probably getting 250 to 300,000 people viewing our site. And then when COVID started, we pushed up, because I kept the funnels going. We got up to full 500,000. And then I moved to stage 3 last month. And now we're getting 650,000 views a month. Like, it just keeps snowballing as you get bigger and bigger. And now we ripped off and duplicated, Kirby stuff. We started that the other day, and that's already we were having better conversations through Facebook on that way too.
So specifically, what about Kirby stuff that you're using?
We just started taking all the, boosting it all on our own on the Facebook things. You know how he takes everything and puts it on for 6 days, and then spends $3 a day? $2 a day. There you go. I haven't even done it. I just pass it on. So, but they've started doing that now, and we're getting way better hits, adding to our database that way, and better conversations through Facebook. So, yeah. So this is, I'll send this off. That's Kirby's checklist. We just now do it.
Okay, so you'll share that.
Kirby did. I think Kirby did last time, right? So
yeah, Kirby, yeah, he killed it in the last Client Success Spotlight. Yeah. So everybody that's on here, make sure you watch Kirby's, as well.
It's funny, Kirby's in the comments right now saying, awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
if anyone didn't get that checklist or wants to watch Kirby's, it's ylopo.com/Kirby, Kirby. You can get the checklist.
But at a very high level, guys, I don't know if it's Barry or Jason or Kiwi, the very high level for the guys watching it, why do they want to watch Kirby's Success Spotlight? What's the number one takeaway from that spotlight?
10x your visibility, your brand awareness. Everyone's going to see you absolutely everywhere. And indirectly, you're going to get a ton more activity on everything.
But specifically through Diva.
Specifically through Diva, using the Ylopo Diva videos and just syndicating them everywhere. Kirby does a great job of taking those and not just doing what Ylopo does with them, but doing a whole bunch of stuff on top. And we did a specific webinar on that, which you can access on that site.
Okay, so
yeah, I really like the system behind the Diva. Just instead of saying I use Diva and we crush it, this is what I'm actually doing with Diva, and that's super helpful.
If you listen to any of the big social media gurus, any of these guys out there, Gary Vaynerchuk, all these big guys, this is the sort of stuff they're always talking about, the jab, 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 right hook. but people don't know what to use for jabs. They don't know what content to use. They're too focused on the details. You don't need think of Kirby is, he's not focused on making everything perfect and everything looking like his brand. It has his brand in it. It may not always be exactly on point, but he's going for volume and he's just everywhere. I mean, it was on Mark Zuckerberg.
What does that mean, Kiwi? Tell us what that means. Jab, 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 right hook. Jab, 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 right hook. What does that specifically mean?
Yeah, it means, a lot of times people need to see your brand or need to see your message or know about you multiple times.
Over and over and over again.
Over and over and over. But not always the same thing. You're not jabbing with the same ad or the same picture of your headshot. It should always be fresh. It should always be different. And the more helpful it is, the more those jabs count. And then when you're going in for the close or when they're ready to make a decision or a friend of theirs is ready to make a decision, you're top of mind and boom, you get the call.
Yeah, I always think about every agent wants people to know them. Like every agent wakes up and is like, oh, not enough people know about me and I'm a great agent, right? I want them to work with me. And so I'm going to try to buy that bench ad, or maybe I'm going to go for a big billboard or something, which is crazy because with Ylopo, you've got it, guys. You can smother your market. They do a search on Google. Guess what? You're in the top 3. Right? They're on Facebook in their newsfeed. Boom, they're getting hit with remarketing. They're on social media, Instagram, Facebook. They're getting diva ads. Jab, 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 right hook. Jab, 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 right hook. It's Jason all day long, right? And his team. It's Kirby all day long and his team. The question right now about, percentage of priority alerts, what we found is, let's say, so Jason's getting up to 25,000 leads. So what we're saying is that minimum he's going to get about 20%, which passes the bullshit test. About 20% of those 25,000 leads, about 5,000 leads are going to come back every month and do some search, right? And interact. Of the 20%, we're saying 18% of the 20%, right? About 900 folks are going to have elevated activity, so they become priority alerts, either on the buyer side or the seller side. Now, 5% of the 18% of the 20% are going to be someone that you can eventually work with. And if you don't, it's like Jason said, those are missed opportunities. I had them, but someone else worked with them because I dropped the ball. So those are buyers and sellers for sure you can work with. And then on a monthly basis, 17% of the 15%, so less than 1/5, right, of the 5% of the 18% of the 20%, 7.7 monthly closed deals is what eventually, once these leads have been nurtured long enough, and he should be doing basically over 90 annual deals, which is only a little over 1/3, the 0.367, 1/3 of 1% of his 25,000 leads for GCI of 574,000. Okay. That makes sense?
Yep.
Build your database, guys. What else? We're getting up on the hour here. What else, Jason? What else do you want to share with the group?
Well, one of the biggest things, and that goes back to your database, my number one goal is to acquire databases. I really believe he who holds the most data wins in the end. I'm now running a thing to where I'm trying to buy out old databases from agents. That's the one thing, because now I have the brand and with Ylopo to bring them back in, remarket towards them. So I've got a webinar I'm going to start doing called, I took it off one of the agent who called The Golden Handoff. It's a book. And I built a whole system that way. And I'm going to start doing webinars and that and start buying in my area alone and then expand it out.
How do you buy a database? Tell me how that works. This is like, wow, man. How do you buy a database from somebody else?
So basically it's just taking over. So if I said, hey, Barry, I want to buy your database because you're getting out of the business, what I do is we say, listen, we're going to put it in our system. And on year 1, we're going to pay you 30% on every lead that comes in. And then year 2, it's 25, 20, 15, and we're going to work it down to 5% over the 6-7 years. And I'm going to pay you while you're sitting on a beach every year. Now, if they call you directly, I'm still going to pay you 30, and you send it back to me, I'm going to pay you 30% on that.
What percentage of these folks, first of all, how do you find folks that you think are ready to go hit the beach, number one? Number two, what percentage of them actually have databases? And
that's
number
the problem.
three, in what format are these databases even in?
Well, I mean, it's, you know what, basically you got to troll through their databases. You got to see if they have some CSV files, or even find out what they did for business wise over the last 10 or 15 years. And you're just going to have to do it. So you got to have, I got two ladies over in the Philippines. One of their jobs is when we do that, she just goes and finds everything in there. Right. And if we can get Facebook running again, where I can now steal those Facebook people and put them in too, that's another option. LinkedIn, you just grab everybody in their sphere and you just jam it into the system, tag it accordingly. Ylopo will do the import on there where they do the introduction, and just start working it. Right.
What are your current sources of leads outside of Ylopo, both paid and not paid?
Again, I still get bold leads because we don't get seller leads up here. Like, I wish I was in the US using that new HomeBot thing. That thing looks amazing. So bold leads. I have two agents on my team that have a company called Agent Locator. And after that, that's all I'm working on now. But with the idea that I'm going to keep spending more money with Ylopo to build it up, right? Like,
do you guys do anything in terms of free leads, like the open house, the Ylopo open house registration tool? Do you make every one of your agents, like, do you somehow get their sphere in? Tell us about that.
Yeah, we all want, as they come in, they've got to put more of their sphere in all the time. The goal is to get them up to 200 over time. They don't do that enough, and I've come up with a way that I'll take care of that. With the ISAs, their commission level is going to go down. Like, when people start, it's 50-50. Now that the ISA is in, they got to pay that ISA 10 points on it. But I'm going to let them, if they bring in their own database, they can make more money because I don't have to go pay for it. Right? So it's a scale, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great stuff.
And the only other thing I'd say, like right now, I mean, I'm looking at going down the road to a place called London, Ontario. It's about an hour west of here. It's got a population base of about 500,000. With Ylopo, I can now expand real easy. Like, that's the other thing. I can just go down there, turn this on. I mean, I have an agent right now. They're not on my team. I just do 50-50 split on the leads I give them. And they've done 7 deals of this year already. Just half an hour down the road that I wasn't going to normally do. Right? So that's the other thing Ylopo can help you do, right? You can really expand out your business to different centers.
I've got a few more questions, Howard, since we're at the top of the hour, that are specific to Jason. I don't know if you want me to just read them off.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So the first one is, actually, it's the same one. Asking about, are you guys using the Ylopo search site for your leads, or are you using your MLS and adapting your IDX integration? Because that was one thing that Kirby was doing, was he was putting all of his leads, they were using that IDX website. Are you doing that, or are you kind of splitting it?
Yeah, we do a bit of both, right?
Okay.
All of the leads get what we call DDF feed up here, and it just grabs everybody's leads in the area and it just plugs on there, right? So that's on our website when people are going through it. So that's one way.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'll let the audience know. I'll let everybody know that we're doing some incredible, massive improvements to Ylopo search. So that's a huge initiative for us. So there are some people out there who use their MLS right now for certain reasons, and they're not going to have to. They'll be able to everyone will be able to use Ylopo search.
Well, in my humble opinion, our next search site will rival the best in the country. Not just agents' websites. I mean, it's that good, that fast, that clean, the features, all of it. So I'm really, really excited about that. And then the last question is TCPA, database acquisition. So when you're acquiring somebody else's database, are you just uploading them for remarketing?
Yes. To start, yeah, we just we just send an email out. We talk to you guys and follow up us and just put it as a Y import. And then they have 2 questions they ask them. So we usually do more of on another person's database. We go with the soft touch at first. The other thing I do every week is, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I make sure everybody has the Y import remarketing tool tag on everybody in our system.
Yeah. So everybody, this is very, very important. Okay. You never import a lead source and then just start texting them or calling them. Right. Okay. It's your responsibility. Okay. You have to make sure that they have opted in, and by getting them on the remarketing, for them to jump in and use the search or look at the homes, they're gonna have to register and opt in. Without that registration and that opt in, do not call or text them.
Correct.
Awesome.
Well, and this is why when you have a large database, it kind of messes up your new leads in mission control, because for you, John Smith is in your database. You import him into Ylopo. He's already your contact. So we're not distributing John Smith to you, but because we're remarketing to him, the ad entices John Smith. John Smith clicks on it, re-registers, re-opts in, and we deliver that lead. And so it's not a new lead, but that's why sometimes you'll see the delivered leads is higher than what we generated. And it's because we almost reconverted an old opportunity. But when they do that, they're re-opting in to receive RaiYA text, automated text, calls, all that stuff. And that's where, man, when that starts happening, because it happens to us a lot, that's when you watch your database just kind of fold into itself and just, you know, you're scaling. With regards, Howard, to priority alerts, we get 50 to 70 a day, and the number / percentage is really based on your database. Did you get it from a phone book, or did you buy Zillow? Or, you know, that matters when you're talking about how well, because LinkedIn, for example, those are mostly work email addresses. And so those email addresses aren't going to match Facebook accounts. So, you know, there's just a lot of variables, I guess is what I'm saying, but it does work. It does bring people back to your website, which is the name of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. We have some great comments, by the way, you know, in the chat section. Chris, who's always awesome member of our community, you know, basically saying that they started running Kirby systems on a couple of their listings, no leads, but we've accepted an offer on one of them. But remember, it's not necessarily like running the Diva ads is not necessarily about leads. It's the jab, 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 right hook. It's seeing the brand. So they could become a lead sort of elsewhere, right? Or engage with you elsewhere. Kelly's like, give in terms of the content. Give, then ask. Give, and then ask. I love that. Chris was like, I don't think you really need to. If you just do what Kirby's doing, you'll be wildly successful with your content marketing and stats through the roof. But Kirby's loving it. Kirby's like, hey, I'm going to build my ad now to buy more Vegas databases. So Kirby like just picked up something from Jason, and Jason had picked up something from Kirby, right? And let's end there. This is why we do this. And this is why we're going to do more of this. And this is why I cannot wait until the pandemic is over and we can all get together for not even 2 days, guys. We're going to get together for 3 days and just mastermind for 3 days. And it's going to be incredible because everybody is going to be sharing. We're going to have panels on all this stuff. I'm so excited. But in the meantime, we'll keep doing stuff, you know, live online. We've got Kiwi driving it, which is just awesome. And we've got Barry delivering his knowledge. And Jason, man, dude, we cannot thank you enough. Really.
No,
I mean, it's clients like you who, you know, I think one of the number one things that you've done is just you're watching the Ylopo success community all the time. I know you are. And you're watching all the stuff we have in our, you know, in our community. You're watching the webinars and you're watching the videos and you're learning and you're applying. And without that, you know, how do we get to the next level? But now you're teaching, and we're really grateful for what you're teaching. And, you know, you've done so well that I've registered here. You're going to be teaching more, man.
Well, you know what? I'll teach all the time. I mean, that's one of the things. I've got a content lady now doing that. I'm going to be doing videos every 2 weeks. And again, that goes back to build more content, get your brand out there, and just keep plugging this in and filling your database.
Awesome. Dr. Barry J. Jenkins, any final words, my friend?
We don't have a lack of good ideas at Ylopo. And, you know, candidly, most of the community is executing, and that's what makes our community different. But what I really love about Jason's story, he's just executing. He's just, you know, he's just very methodically going through and doing what he needs to do. And at the end of the day, like if we all just do what Ylopo is initiating and advocating for, we're going to do really well because the marketing speaks for itself. So just very encouraging. I appreciate you sharing that today, Jason.
No, thank you, guys.
Kiwi, parting shot?
Parting shot is if you still don't have a great grip on your database, you want to take the same sort of training that Kirby did, that Jason's done, that every one of these people is having incredible success. The one trending factor I'm hearing from all of them is they've finally figured out how to organize their database, how to sleep well at night, knowing everything is done in a way where they're not dropping the ball. Barry's got training now, which you or anyone in your team can take, and it's going to teach you how to have that sort of sense of comfort with your CRM. Ylopo.com/masterclass. Go there, make sure anyone who's managing your database goes through that course. That is going to be the light bulb moment that can possibly just take you to the, give you so much confidence. So definitely do the course if you can.
Thanks for sharing that, Kiwi. One thing, I guess, since we're talking about that, it's really not a CRM class. It's not a sales class. It's a sales inside your CRM class. And really, nobody likes onboarding new people on the team. And so this has been designed to where you can just hand a new agent this course, and they're up to speed on using your particular CRM and selling Ylopo leads. So scripting, process, all that good stuff. So really, really excited about it. And I think the longest video is 8 minutes, and there's only one of them. The rest of them are all like 2-3 minutes. So I try to make it short.
My parting shot, Kiwi, let's make sure we get Jason a couple of Ylopo Professor shirts. If they're all gone, let's make some more. That's just a regular Ylopo shirt. We're going to get you the Ylopo Professor shirt because you are now officially a Ylopo Professor. Barry is a realtor in residence. And I think both Jason and Barry embody, for me, like the best client, right? Someone who's humble and is always willing to learn. If you're humble, it means that I don't know everything, right? And always willing to learn. And I just learned something today about like going out and acquiring a database. So I had never put that together, and I'm teaching about growing your database, right? So that's like brilliant. That's awesome, right? So we're always learning, and Jason and Barry are amazing. You know, Barry's a realtor in residence, the first realtor in residence ever at Ylopo, and he's still learning, right? And then teaching. Yep. But you're also teaching, that's right, giving back. So I know that these guys are going to be forever successful because they're not just taking, they're not just learning, but they're teaching and they're sharing with the community. And that's what our community is all about. So it is the best in class tech. We're going to have we have the best in class social media marketing, the best in class remarketing. We got the best in class pay-per-click marketing coming up. We're going to have the best in class home search. We will never stop improving home search. We are just never going to stop. And we have the best in class community of clients. Love you guys. Appreciate you, Jason. Thank you so much. Kiwi, thanks. Barry, thanks. I think we're out, man.